Definitely not. I mean, again, going back to Rajiva's argument about as if President Rajapaksa is innocent and everybody else is the reason why he's now forced to call an elections. Rajapaksa brought the 18th Amendment, which gave him the executive presidency almost like a dictatorial powers through constitution. It's Rajapaksa who is the commander-in-chief, who is accused of committing war crimes and crimes against humanity, and some people accuse him of going to a genocidal, to an extent of genocidal against the Tamil community. As head of state, he has immunity against the international law, but that's what he thinks. However, the day that he is beaten in an election and he is not the head of state, just as what happened to Charles Taylor or Milosevic or people like that who committed genocidal crimes and breached international law, Rajapaksa will be taken by the International Criminal Court and will be charged against for committing war crimes.
All right, let's
one last point about Rajiva. He said, just one point, Jane, just 1 point. Rajiva said the military fought almost a clean war. I just wondered, 140,000 people dead, white flag Sarandis dead, pictures to show, videos to show that handcuffed, blindfolded men and women sexually abused and killed. Child of 11-year-old children are being killed. Is that a kind of thing that you call a relatively clean war? What is international law? What is war crimes? What is crimes against humanity? I presume, I really do mean, I hope that Rajiva will go back and reflect on what he said.
Okay, Rajiva, several points made there. Do you foresee your president heading off to the International Criminal Court in The Hague anytime soon? And you just wonder what sort of person is going to be able to take him out of power so that he gets there?
Well, as I said, just as Ronald Reagan said years ago to Wandale, there you go again. And the problem with people like Surin is by putting up arguments that the majority of Sri Lankans think are complete nonsense.
Well, I have to say that the international community might agree with a lot of what Surin had to say.
I'm not concerned with the prejudices and of the international community. I have pointed out already on several occasions that the blanket charges being made are actually what has polarized our society to a great extent. Now, I'm not excusing things, but I'm explaining things. And I think you have to understand that one of the reasons Mahinda Rajapaksa feels beleaguered is that after he won the war, there was an immediate attempt to pin war crimes on him, and this had been going on him long before. Now, when you have statements to say, it's essential to defeat Mahinda Rajapaksa in order to take him to The Hague, you're actually trying to ask the Sri Lankan people whether or not they think it's a better thing that Sri Lanka is without the tigers or not. Now, I think we had an LLRC which actually produced an excellent report which most people, bar 3, and I won't get into the details, thought was something we should work on. And I think it's regrettable that we didn't work on them. The couple of the points that are substantiated that Suren talked about are brought up in the LLRC. And I think it's a great pity that the government did not go into those questions. But I think this whole nonsense of 140,000, which is not based on any evidence at all, except figures which the UN itself have said were exaggerated, because of the figures on which I was Secretary of the Ministry of Disaster Management and Human Rights, and
it's often rather hard getting factual evidence on the ground, isn't it, when you've got some of the activists and the NGOs being arrested?
Is precisely the type of nonsense that will actually lead to what I think might be an undesirable result in this election. I think it's important to concentrate on some of the points you made and which Harsha made, which is that there is a real fear amongst a lot of Sri Lankans that there's a lot of nepotism. I myself have been writing a review, which is being published in the Sri Lankan papers, of something called Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. And half those dwarfs are members of the family who I think are leading him to destruction. I didn't say he was being forced by other people. I said that they have blockaded him because it's very easy for someone who has been in power for a long time to have his ears shut to what is going on around him. We found the same sort of thing happening to Margaret Thatcher, if you remember, obviously in a very different way. So I think one of the things we have to be very clear about is why is it that we would like the Sri Lankan people to have a change? And I think that is very, very different from the type of extraordinary, extreme allegation made by people like Suren. And I hope that the GTF will have the sense not to try to interfere in this election because they will pervert it.
Harsha, you've been desperate to jump in there. I mean, quite incredible sort of accusations levelled there. I want to add to that the clamping down of press freedom that we've been seeing and allegations of vote rigging in the last elections. Is it going to be different this time?
Yeah, see, I mean, I'm neither going to agree with Suren nor with there are all kinds of allegations, and the government has been saying, no, nothing happened, zero casualties, and so on. So they seem to be extremes. What we should have done is to have a credible domestic investigation, and that is what was being pushed for a number of years, and the government just kept backtracking and not getting it done. Now we are cornered, and the government will need to face the music. But leave that aside. We have to appreciate, even though I'm an opposition member of parliament, that terrorism is no longer a threat here. And many people, both from the present government and from our party, have attempted to rid terrorism in Sri Lanka. So that we must park, and we have to go forward now. It is not winning the war, it is winning the peace. We have to live together. And what Suren is saying is correct, that we are fighting amongst the communities sponsored by extremist groups that are connected to the government. We had riots in Muslim, burnt churches. That's not on. We can't go on as a country, as a civilized society, if we don't stop these things from happening. And the very, very powerful brother of the president seem to be sanctioning some of these things. And I say seem to be because there isn't any hard evidence to prove, but there is enough substantial evidence to say that, look, that there is a strong connection. So denials are not sufficient. The government must stop this in its tracks right now. But what is happening is people have realized they're not able to do it. Either they're not willing to do it, I don't know. They are unable to do it. So therefore, that is one of the main reasons we need to change this regime and bring a government that can unite the Sinhalese, Tamils and the Muslims of this country.
It seems that there's obviously a lot to fight for in Sri Lanka. Thank you for picking your way through the issues raised by this call for snap elections. Gentlemen, in Colombo we had Rajiva Wajasena, in Dublin Surendran, and also in Colombo Harsha De Silva. Thank you very much for talking to us on Inside Story. We'd obviously like to hear from you, so why not post your comments at facebook.com/AJ Inside Story or contact us on Twitter. Our handle is @AJ Inside Story. I'm Jane Dutton. Thank you very much for watching.